One thing that's a bummer about podcasting is that you can never play music because of copyright infringement. But we always jam before that, and then we have to hit pause.
It's true.
Unfortunately.
It's a sad day when that happens, but lucky for everyone, our voices are just as soothing.
Yeah. I'd hope. Let's hope so.
They're not. They're definitely not. There's some beautiful voices out there.
If you watched my recent fitness film, I paid someone like $20 to do a voiceover because I was like, I can't do my voice. I tried, I recorded it, and it just did not sound good. So I was like, never mind.
No thanks.
No. So I hired a man's
The
voice.
masculine tones.
And if you haven't seen it, go check it out.
Check it out. It's pretty sweet.
Thanks. It's my podcast, so I get advertise whatever I want on here.
Hell yeah, you can.
And it's you, so we're advertising us both.
It's out there.
Your sister Juliet was like, wow, my brother. And I was like, yeah, I just can't not make Peirce look good.
Yeah, you can. That's what you do. You're good at it. You make people look good. That's exactly the point here.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, man.
Thanks. I like being behind the camera and not in front of it. Except here, I guess, on our podcast. Hey. Episode 21, Untitled podcast. I don't honestly know how this episode is going to go. I feel like that every episode, though. We just kind of wing it and see how it goes.
It's the name of the game. Fake it till you make it.
And honestly, I feel like it's been pretty decent so far. If you follow our Instagram, we posted a story. We've had 500 downloads on our podcast.
Woo woo.
Yeah. Total out of everything. So, I mean, like, it's like 25-ish an episode. So, yeah.
Right on.
Go us.
That's exciting. Go you guys.
And go you.
Yeah.
So, thank you for all the support, truthfully. Sometimes we don't want a podcast, honestly. It's really hard.
It's a lot. You have to think. You have to speak correctly. You have to...
We all know how bad we are at that.
Bad.
Super bad.
And you have to seem like you know what's kind of going on around you.
Which we don't.
Exactly. But here we are.
So today is figuring out Trevor's brain.
Picking apart Trevor's brain.
Yeah. Yep. Just questions that have been on my mind and that I want to like discuss and figure out and genuinely like try to find answers, I guess, or just like discuss them, because I think it's always good to talk about life and try to figure out how to get more out of it. I told Peirce this in the car. I was like, dude, one of the things that everybody has tried to figure out in this life from, I feel like, the beginning of mankind till now is just how can I get more out of life? How can I live a better life? You can see that in like ancient times when people made tools to make things easier and started to make shelter, to make sleeping just more enjoyable. That's just a big part of life, is just trying to figure out how to enjoy it more than you are, you know?
Right.
So I think that's a big part of our podcast, is just figuring out our lives and trying to talk about it, speak about it, and help people, I guess, figure out their life too while we're figuring out ours.
Maybe you already know this, maybe you don't. Maybe you've never even thought about it before, but Trevor's going to give us some ideas and some things that are going on in his mind.
It's true.
And next episode, I'll be doing the same thing.
Yeah. So, and maybe you don't care, but hopefully you do. Basically, I wrote up some questions and thoughts and topics that I'm going to be talking to Peirce about, or asking him about. He's helping me figure it out.
I'm going to try. My therapeutic skills are pretty poor, but we'll give it a shot.
We're both not therapists by any means. And then Peirce has a list of his questions and thoughts that he'll ask me, and I'll try to help him through that. And hopefully you can also learn something through all this as well. So to preface this, we've been talking about on the podcast how everybody is their main character, right?
Correct.
And that you can kind of create your own life and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to read some of this because I'm going to get off topic, I feel like, if I try to summarize it.
Okay.
So because of that, I've almost thought too much in the main character mindset and how my life is a movie. We've talked about that. Mm-hmm. So I stress over every moment because every moment is important and it's playing on the screen of my movie, right? Because if you think about a movie, everything that comes up on the screen is important for the story and for some reason because the director thought it was good to put in there. You know what I mean?
Right. They're always trying to. There's always a reason for whatever scene you're watching, you know.
Right. Unless it's a terrible movie.
Or that the director just likes throwing random stuff in there.
Right. It's definitely possible. But with life, in my life being a movie, I'm like, well, everything that's happening is so important for my story, I guess. And so sometimes it's even like hard to like fall asleep because I'm always overthinking and thinking about this story and movie and life that I'm creating. And so every decision seems life altering, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So with that preface, my question is, how can you have a peace of mind and just enjoy your day without stressing over the future?
Well, I would say after hearing you talk about your main character mindset, life as a movie view, that a lot of times in films and movies, in social media, the things that we see, we feast our eyes on, it's a lot of instant everything. Like they already have this job, they're already in this spot in life, boom, their life changes dramatically. They're having this crazy romance with this woman they just met and they're in love, or they're going on this insane adventure that they've always dreamed of going on. So it's always in movies, the 2 hours or 3 hours or hour and a half of that film is so action-packed because it's trying to depict so much of a character or multiple characters in that time frame, right? So with that in mind, I guess one scene that helps me have peace is they'll like fast forward in time, or they'll say 3 years later. You know, SpongeBob does that all the time, or just like lots of shows, lots of movies do that.
Yeah.
I guess another one is Free Guy, when he's going through like his everyday mundane life, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes it does a time lapse of like this normal life that they live for so long. Or the movie starts with them like Breaking Bad. The show starts and he's already in his 50s, or it's his 50th birthday or something like that. And so he has all this year in life behind him already that he now is then jumping into something crazy. Anyways, I feel like knowing that there's usually a lot of skipping in time and skipping the mundane life of these characters and movies and stuff, that's when I know that when I'm going through my mundane motions, or when I am focusing on these silly things that I think are foolish with society, like I just had to go renew my registration for my car, like just life things that are every day. I don't know if that's exactly your question, but not being stressed out every day, but still living and feeling like the main character of your story is doable when you know that there's going to be time that you're going to have to spend doing mundane things, I guess, is my point. Or things that aren't glamorous, or things that aren't on the screen of your film, right? Your whole life is your film. So there's going to be plenty of times when I feel like you're going to be fast forwarding over certain things. Like that's why our memory even is only focused on certain things, or we remember certain things at certain times. There's always something going on. Even if you feel like you're not doing something, like you said, there's stuff that's happening.
So you're saying that like the everyday life stuff isn't even like important to be aired on the movie, and so like it's almost like cut, and so like don't worry about it because it's not even that important, and it doesn't deserve that screen time, and just focusing on like the more important things. Not saying that they are like not important, but they shouldn't be stressed on.
Yeah, I mean, it's every movie that you watch, you don't watch the family go to the grocery store and pick out their groceries for the meal they're eating at dinner. You know, there's always things they're going to be cutting in movies. There's always things that are left out. So yeah, me going to the store, me filling up my tank of gas, me doing things like getting my registration done, or random things like that aren't going to be in a movie unless there is something hilarious that happens on the drive, or like whatever, you know, or that's the day that you get in a car accident. Like you think about a lot, you know?
No, that's a great mindset, actually. That helps a lot, because there are so many times, because I work at home, that I'm like, dude, I should be thinking about everything in the future, and I need to think about all of these and this and this and this. And really, it's just like I just need to be editing, and I just need to be doing those like small tasks.
Right.
Yeah, it's like social media too. Like people post their highlights instead of everything. Nice, dude. That was a great answer.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
I kind of got lost in my answer for a second there, but I'm glad that it all connected and it worked out for you.
Well, yeah, no, I appreciate it. And truthfully, whenever we ask questions that we're really struggling with, I feel like we hardly ever get a perfect answer. And that's what makes life annoying and like stressful sometimes, is because you're like, dude, where's this answer at? Like, I can't find it. And truthfully, sometimes there is no answer. It's because we live in that Google world, you know?
Right.
Like why can't,
ask and receive.
right. Like, why can't I just search it, get the answer, move on?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big part of why I stress out over life, is I just want the answers. And sometimes it takes years to get that answer.
Amen.
Because the human brain is just so complex.
Everything about humans are complex.
Yeah.
That was a good thought, though, too.
Thanks,
I
man.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me write this down. That was great. That was too good not to write down, so I need to capture that
Write it
before
down.
I am. I will. I am. I'm doing it.
Well, it's faster already, man. Giddy up.
Okay. Got it. If you never write it down, it's revelation that's wasted. So I appreciate all of that. And it's written down, so I won't forget it. Okay. My next one, another preface of this that I'm going to read. I have a hard time doing things just for me. For example, when I'm at the gym or the store or driving or whatever, I'm just always thinking about who is watching me, who's seeing me, did they see that embarrassing thing that I did, and just all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that stems from me growing up in a relatively small town, Flagstaff, because literally every time I was running, people would like text me afterwards and be like, "Oh, I saw you on your run." Or I was at this. Yeah. Dude, it happened more than once.
That's wild.
And at the grocery store, even to this day when I go back and visit, if I'm out in town, I see at least one person that I know. At least. Like usually 1 to 3 people.
Popular man.
I don't know about that. I don't know if people know me for good reasons or bad, but
I know. No, that's wild. That is wild.
yeah. And so I think that has played a big role in my thought process, because I do know that people see me, and for some reason that has affected me. And so because of that, I'm more worried about what other people are thinking than just doing me. Even here in Salt Lake, even though I don't know hardly anybody here, I never see the same face twice hardly. So, and I'm not saying you're good at this, but
Oh boy.
you kind of are. How do you not care what people think and just do you in like just everyday life? Not saying you don't care about anything.
I mean, there's definitely things I care about. There's definitely things I don't care about.
But I just like care about everything.
I know.
It's
you
terrible.
do. Okay, well, let me think.
Yeah. Because like sometimes I try to like think of myself and remind myself that like these people don't care about you, Trevor. You don't have to think that everything's about you. And so nothing matters, and just go on with your day. And especially at the gym when I'm around all of these athletic people.
For sure. I guess you just have to be okay with the spot you're at in your life now. It kind of going back to having a bigger picture in mind of life in general is that you're in the grocery store this one time, whether you're in Flagstaff where you might see somebody and strike up a conversation, or whether you're in Texas Roadhouse and you're not gonna know anybody there. I mean, that's a tough question. That's a good question. I really think it just has to do with knowing that there's a lot of life to live, and whether people actually hate you just by looking at you in the store, or they don't even notice you because you're just an insignificant white dude in the store, or if it's you cut somebody off in the street and you think this person's going to hate you forever or whatever. Like, everybody forgets about this stuff because we're all main characters in our life, and those little things are going to be forgotten about. And people that hold on to those kind of things, and people like you who are holding on to things that haven't even been said or done to you, are also missing out on a lot of life. It's almost like forgiveness. When people talk about the power of forgiveness and forgiving people, that when you're so caught up on this hatred or this fuel for somebody or something, that you can't enjoy or focus on anything in your own life, or focus on happy things or whatever. So I think it's almost like the same idea of, if you're always stressed out about what people think or care or see in you or whatever, that you're going to miss out on another day of your own life.
Yeah.
I guess,
I get that. I think it's easier said than done for me for some reason. Like,
For
I'm
sure.
like, oh, yeah, don't even worry about it. But then it's
like I said, I don't know what advice to really give, except like, just know that they don't care, and that you shouldn't either. Like, they really, and if they do care, you're just gonna have a conversation about it, or It's almost like dealing with the problem when it actually arises, unless there's something you need to speak out upon or whatever. That's not the case. You are so bad at this. You're just always thinking about the worst or always thinking there's something out to get you or
Yeah, for real.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
It's okay. It doesn't have to be completely answered because it, like I said, never will be.
Yeah.
But
That's the truth.
well, if any listeners have any advice, I'm open. I'm all ears.
Me too, I guess.
So yeah, I just think that's a question that I'm gonna just have to live with for a while. It's just always.
That's
on my
one
mind.
that you're gonna need a guru for or something.
I know. Meditate for like a month on my own.
Yeah.
So my last and final question, which is a 2-part series.
Twofer, huh?
It's a twofer. Peirce knows this, but lately it's been so hard for me to sit down and choose a movie or something to do, like a game or whatever, like activities, anything. I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. And 45 minutes later, I'm still trying to pick out a movie instead of being halfway through a movie. It's terrible.
It's a shame.
It's super bad. I don't know why I've just been so indecisive lately. And I've also just been changing my mind with every decision. I'll make a decision and then like 10 minutes into it, I'll make another decision. Like movies, again, I'll start watching a movie, 5 minutes in, I'm like, no, this actually isn't what I'm feeling. And I'll try to like find something else. Next, thank you. Next. All right, Ariana.
Baby girl.
Everything usually ends with me just feeling like unsatisfied, you know?
Right.
Because I'm just trying to find this like perfect solution almost, or like what I'm actually in the mood for.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like searching for my mood. It usually, again, ends up just unsatisfied. And I used to be just such like a chill and relaxed and easygoing, open person and just like whatever, just go with the flow. But now sometimes like life is just meh.
For sure.
Again, it's hard to find what I'm in the mood for most of the time or what I truly want or any of that, all of that for whatever reason. So 2 parts of this question. Why is decision making hard for people? And why do you think people become unsatisfied with life?
I think that there's constant commotion in most normal societies in our world today, at least in America, because that's where I am. That's what I see, is that there's an overload, there's a lot of information, a lot of choices, a lot of everything all the time. With everything, your food, there's so many choices for fast food, so many choices for restaurants, so many choices for recipes that you can look up.
Yeah.
Gluten-free options, vegetarian, keto diet, like all kinds of stuff, right?
Right.
And then going back to labels and the idea of labels and feeling like you have to choose something can be overwhelming, or feeling like you have to have some sort of label to your life or the way you live, that you're plant-based or you are vegetarian or whatever. Again, those are very specific, right?
Right.
That's why I would think that decision-making is hard, is because it's not just A, B, C, D answer. It's like a A through Z plus numbers answer most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many choices. There's so much out there.
Yeah, I feel like that's a huge part of why decision making has been so hard, because there is so many options of things to do, things to eat. Yeah.
Because there's so many options, you need to do research when you buy something, or you need to do research when you're looking at places to eat at, or
right.
So I feel like that's not a very instantaneous result, and that's another reason that in our day and age, we like the instant, the fast answers, the fast results. And so when things take time and energy and thought and research, that it's less appealing and it's less likely to happen. So before you get on the Xbox to pick a movie, you haven't even really thought about what to watch or not to watch. You kind of get on Disney Plus or you get on Netflix, and then you start looking at all this stuff, and there's all these choices. There's comedies, there's anime, there's, you know what I mean? I feel like that's why it's important to have an idea of what you want before you just go into something. I guess shopping is an easy example, or going on a diet, because I've mentioned that a few times, like knowing that there's carbs, you want to cut out carbs in your diet, and you want to eat more vegetables doesn't necessarily mean you have to be vegetarian, or not necessarily mean that you have to go on a plant-based diet. You don't really even have to have a name for it. You just have to know what you want and then go do research to do that. So movies or games, as example, I guess, would just be knowing if you want to have like a challenge or you just want to have fun, because there's different kind of games, or like if you want to
That's true.
puzzle it out or play a sports related game, or if you want to watch a comedy, or if you're in the mood for an adventure. Like there's certain things I feel like you can narrow down your choices with, I guess.
No, I think that's true. I think because I'm just like, oh, I want to relax. So I like turn on the Xbox and then there's just like, boom, like million options. And I'm already like, I don't know where my mind is going to take me.
Right.
So yeah, I don't think about what I truly want before I get onto like my phone or the Xbox or like whatever. Like I don't think about these things beforehand. And so, yeah, I guess I got to like soul search a little bit and figure out what I'm in the mood for before I search for options for what I'm in the mood.
And I'm not saying that like every decision in your life, like what soap do I use when I go to the store to buy, like everything has to be such a thought out thing. But I definitely think that helps.
Okay.
When you have a generalized idea, right?
Yeah. Let me write that down. That's actually something that I was taught a while ago, is like before you get on your phone, like tell yourself what you're going on there for so that you don't waste time. And I think that's a great thought. So thanks.
Yeah, and I think that's something that myself included and we as people can easily struggle with. And I see a lot of we just hop on our phone without even knowing what we're going to do. And we just naturally are somehow on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever, you know?
Yeah, no, great.
It's a very natural thing.
Great thoughts. We're probably running low on time. So if you had to summarize an answer, because this one is also loaded, the last part of that, why do you think people become unsatisfied?
Relating it to video games, it can be either one of two things, where they beat a video game because it's so easy and it's repetitive and they know what's coming next and they can accomplish these missions really quick and faster each time they do it. You know, if you were to play a campaign multiple times, which I've done, I'm a nerd.
You're such a nerd.
Geek at heart, you know?
He's way more nerdy than people think, even than I think. Every time we're doing anything, I'm like, you are a nerd. Anyways,
I definitely have some geeky things about me for sure. All right. And so I've done that, and it becomes so easy that you become unsatisfied with the game. You become unsatisfied with life when you're doing the same things over and over, and it becomes repetitive, and you know what's going to happen next. And your sex life is the same or non-existent, or your job is not as satisfying, or nothing is new and exciting. There's just, life is kind of becomes dull. Your life becomes predictable, basically. Mm-hmm. And another reason I could see life being unsatisfying is the exact opposite. When nowadays I get on a new video game and it's so complex and there's so many hard things that I don't know what I'm doing. And that's when I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely not a geek because I don't know what's going on with these video games. Like, I feel like an old man. And that can be similar to life too, where you get, again, being so overwhelmed with so many things and in this life that it can be overwhelming and become unsatisfied as well. So I think there's different ways to become unsatisfied with life. Those are two ways I see life being unsatisfying.
I think there are also a lot of answers to that question, because it depends on the person, what they're doing, and all that stuff. I just feel like lately, because of like all of this confusion and decision making and like these life altering moments, because I know this year is going to be difficult and like big and hopefully go very well business wise for me in like the video world. And so I guess it has been like just stressful, and when I'm not working, I'm still working, and it's just this whole big complex mind, cluster
bomb.
You know what we need to say here. And because of all that, it just makes me think about marriage, oddly enough, and just deciding like who my wife will be, because I will always like want more, and I will always think that there's better. And I think that's, again, the world that we live in of like Tinder and whatever. And so hopefully by that time I'll be able to understand more of my mind and my decision-making process. I don't know. Basically, life is a lot and stressful. So I guess that's been my mind the last few weeks or so.
Well, those were great questions for me to think about, and I'm sorry if I totally missed the ball on some of them, all of them, any of them, but it was great to think about. The general thing is just knowing where you're at in life is going to be helpful. I think that's my final thing for everything you've said today. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, I get that. I think I stress too much of being where I want to be right now, instead of going through that process and everything. And so one day at a time, just crawling. I guess that's it. for Trevor's brain. So we'll move on to Peirce's thought process. But that wraps up episode 21. So
Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you, Peirce Walker, for everything you do.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Oh, yes. So yeah, we'll see you on the next one when we tear apart Peirce's mind.
Get ready for it.
See you there.
Bye.
Bye.